Yeah, g'day all, and welcome back to the Ohmmu Sodium Ion verdict video. And as most of you probably have already figured out, this is an absolute win. So, I've had this sodium ion battery in the Kia EV5 for the last week, or just under 7 days. And yeah, apart from a few strange bits of behaviour earlier on, it's not a problem. I'll get into that in a tick. This has been a fantastic result. So I'll just get into all the stats in a tick. But my shims lasted the journey. I mean, of course, it's only a week, but yep, that's all still nice and rock solid in there, not twisting around at all. So that's great. But of course, I think what's happened, because I've been doing a lot of battery work in this car, I think I've actually stretched this clamp. And now that I've put the shims in here and tightened this up, I've possibly stretched them even further. But that's all good. I've got a little sort of, I think it's a very thin-walled lead sheath cap that goes over the top of the terminal, and that will allow me to keep using this clamp. There's no way I'm going to be changing that clamp. It's all riveted to the cable and everything there. I mean, it's not impossible. I could possibly buy a new clamp with the earth or the grounding wire there, because this one just plugs in. But yeah, it's far from being unusable. So yeah, that's all good and fine. You guys possibly won't have the same issue, because this is an SAE post, and the original Kia battery was also an SAE post. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure what's going on, but having a chat to Sean from Ohmmu, asking him what type of posts they were, he confirmed that they were SAE, so I shouldn't need these shims. And yeah, I'd say I've just stretched this clamp out a bit from all the tightening I've been doing. So yeah, fantastic result. So let's go up to the stats now. This is the line graph from the 5 days. As I've said before, the BM200 really only easily shows 5 days of history. So yeah, this is 5 days of decent behaviour. I changed the battery over the day before this day, and yeah, there was a lot of weird stuff going on, but to be honest, that's what happens whenever I've put a new battery in. They've never been dead flat from day one. It takes a little bit of settling in, but yeah, this is excellent. But just to show you, I'll just to compare, if you've all forgotten, this is a sodium ion battery, but check out the lithium battery. Yeah, so that's my Kings Lithiums, just for your reference. Absolutely dead flat, only gets a few wiggles whenever the car is driven, or whenever I access the car remotely, and the 12-volt system kicks in for that remote management. So this is what I'm striving for. This is sort of like the standard, the base standard of excellence. But the sodium battery, pretty good. It's definitely not bad. The reason this is so flat though is because of the middleman, which is the BMS. So it's not really reflecting exactly what's going on from a cell or at a cell level. The sodium, on the other hand, the only things, to my knowledge, inside this plastic box is 4 sodium cells in series. There is absolutely no BMS in there at all, which means this is showing the absolute raw cell voltages, which is really nice, because that is pretty flat for something without a BMS. This, on the other hand, although it's beautiful and I love it to bits, that's kind of, it's a little bit misleading, because the BMS in top of the battery is sort of flattening everything out, sort of artificially. But again, not bad. It's just the reason why the sodium looks like that and the lithium looks like that. You can get sodium BMSs. I have actually purchased some sodium cells and a sodium BMS. And while I was purchasing that, I was wondering why the sodium BMSs were so hard to find. And then, of course, I realized sodium cells don't really need a BMS, which is exactly what Ohmmu have done here. The absolute beauty of not having a BMS, there are massive cons to, or pros, sorry, to not having a BMS, and that is you're getting full current to the terminals. So you can easily use one of these sodium batteries in an internal combustion car. These will easily crank, I think this one's up to 800 cold cranking amps, which is like, that's twice as much grunt as the lead acid that was originally in this car, and twice as much grunt as most lead acids of this size. So that is fantastic. So this is kind of like a really good all-rounder battery. You can throw it in internal combustion, you can use it in EVs, you can sort of use it for anything. And of course, the other massive benefit of the sodium ion and the fact that it doesn't have a middleman BMS is the much wider temperature range. So you haven't got a BMS sitting in there clamping anything down when it gets too cold or gets too hot or anything like that, purely because the cells in here can handle a lot more abuse and a lot more temperature range. So down to at least minus 20 degrees C and up to at least 60 or 70 degrees C, which is unbelievable and makes this battery a really good choice for anyone with an EV in very cold climates. So yeah, that's the absolute benefit of the sodium ion batteries. The con, and it may just be a con at the moment, is just the price. These are not cheap, and that's understandable. It's new technology, especially the cells in here. I've heard are a premium grade cell. The cells I purchased for my own experimentation haven't arrived yet, actually. They there's no they're nowhere near premium. They're just sort of the run-of-the-mill cell you can get direct from China manufacturers. So, but I do look forward to having a play around with those and using them in different applications. But so back to the graph. So just again, that is the lithium, and this is the sodium. All right, just to get everyone used to seeing the sodium line. So first thing I noticed was, so any of these straight lines here is when the car is parked. All right. This is also when the car was parked, but being the day after I swapped the battery, I'd say there was a lot of settling with the ICCU, and yeah, I've never really seen that stepped graph before, that downward step. And then I'd get in the car, and that's what the wiggle is, and then stop driving, parking it probably, overnight. And again, then I start it the next day, and there's another step there, really strange. But then look what happens. I drive in the car, and then perfectly stable. Drive the car, perfectly stable. Drive the car, stable. Drive the car, stable. Drive the car, stable. Now, when I say stable, I mean there's no wiggle. It is a flat line. However, you can possibly see that it's actually a slope. So when it's first parked, it's at X voltage, and then when just before I get in the car to drive it, it's lost voltage. But we're only talking hundredths of a volt, as I'll show you now. So you got 14.17 volts at midnight, just because this is a convenient way of showing the graph for 5 days. And then just before I start driving, it's dropped to 14.1. Similarly, 14.2 after I've started driving. Sorry, no, after I've parked it. And just before I start driving, 14.06. So that's a 0.14 drop. Now, it was at this point I got in touch with Sean from Ohmmu, because interestingly, the BM200 monitor on the side was reporting a charge cycle here. So it was actually saying it was charging. And I was really concerned because this is obviously overnight, so that line there is midnight. So when I was parking it, it was saying charging, and I thought, yeah, well, that's fine for half an hour or an hour. But I would check out the records and everything, and yeah, I'd wake up in the morning and find it was still charging. So I thought, no, that's not good at all. I do not want a battery sitting in this car, a 12-volt battery, charging for 12 hours. That's not what I signed up for. So I got in touch with Sean and showed him this graph and mentioned that it was charging. And he said, well, it's not charging because it's a downward slope, so it's actually draining. And I thought, well, yeah, I know that, but why is the BM200 saying it is charging? And then he said, it's just the voltage difference. So it's the BM200 does a lot of guessing to make us feel good, including the state of charge, and also if it thinks the battery's charging or not. So because of the higher voltage the sodiums run at, as you can see, it's sort of you're looking at 14.2 as it's resting. If we just quickly go back to the lithium, it's obviously a lot lower as it's resting, and sure, it's flat, but it's only 13.3. So I'd say the BM200 is just assuming that the battery is under charge purely because of the higher voltage. So yeah, purely because of that downward slope on each of these resting sessions, there's no way that's charging, and that's obvious, but I did want to just check it. So yeah, 14.2 down to 14.06, 14.08 down to 13.98. So that was a big one. 14.06 down to 13.95. 14.11 down to 13.93. 14.11 down to 13.94. So you can even tell by that graph that since the day after installing the battery on this day to here, it's actually stabilizing and sorting itself out, and we're seeing much nicer voltages and repeated as well. So I'll just go back. So 14.11 down to 13.93, 14.11 down to 13.94, and a similar time period has passed as well. If that was left for a little bit longer to match this, that'd basically be right down to 13.93, which was the same as this period. And then 13.97 down to 13.87. Yeah, that was actually quite low. But as I've said in the previous video when I was talking about the Kings test, I'm purposely now installing any battery that I intend to test with 100% charge external of the car, and I'm installing it in the car after the car has 100% traction battery charge. So none of this has anything to do with the charge of the traction battery in the car, because that starts introducing its own waveforms and peaks and spikes and starts forcing the ICCU to charge the 12-volt battery and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, this is just a 100% charged car with a 100% charged 12-volt battery, and as you can see, it's the truth basically, without any interference. So then down to the peaks or spikes. So we're only up to 1455 there, which is excellent. 1456 on that one, which is great because even on the lithium I was looking at sort of 14.8, 14.85, even up to 14.9, but that was very, very, very rare. But when you compare that to the lead acids were, yeah, very close to 15 and dropping well under 12. And as you can see here, this is dropping down to 12.98, 12.98 again, and this one all the way over here is 12.97. Oh, yep, back to that. So 12.97. So that's the range, 12.97 up to about 14.55, 14.56. So that is a really nice, comfortable range, which is excellent. Now, unfortunately, it's been quite cool in Brisbane over the last week with quite a lot of rain. But earlier today, or was that yesterday? No, earlier today, I've forgotten now. Yeah, we hit 51 degrees in this area, measured by the Ansell battery monitor. And of course, no problem. There is nothing else in here. There's no BMS that's acting as a middleman or anything. So this under hood temperature should be able to go right up to 70 degrees C and right down to negative 20 or even more. So fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I think that's all I've got in my little graph presentation there. Now, some of you who are part of the Facebook group that I post this information on may have seen a post from me yesterday. Kings actually had their 65 amp hour lithium on a sale. That's the new model. They had it on sale for $169. Now that represents excellent value for a not quite a drop-in replacement, because you've got to stuff around with getting posts and stuff around with packing up the clamp here and things like that. And of course, being a lithium with a BMS, there are always risks that high or very low voltages, that BMS could cut off. And if it cuts off, you're going to lose all control of the car. The car's just going to shut down. So that's what I've been waiting to test for the last sort of 6 months, ever since I put the first Kings Lithium in. I still haven't got through summer. Got through a very, very hot day. When was that? A few weeks ago, and we hit 55 degrees and it was perfectly fine. However, who knows, maybe 56 degrees the BMS might cut off. Now, I'm willing to take that risk because I'm a tinkerer and an experimenter. But if anyone else is planning on installing a better battery than the lead acid that these come with, just keep that in mind. The people who have done so far, I'm pretty sure they're aware of that, and it's basically still experimental until I get through summer. However, this sodium, if I choose to keep this in this car, I won't have to worry about any of that, because it can handle crazy high temperatures and crazy low temperatures. And to be honest, yeah, it's not as flat as the lithium, but it's pretty good. I mean, that's the sodium ion and that's the lithium. So we're still looking at sort of the same voltage ranges. You can see here the lithium went down, I think that was about 1280 or 1279 or something, and used to go up to about 14.8 or 14.85, and then that's the sodium. So we're still within that nice range. Again, with the lead acid, we were looking at hitting the 15 mark and also dropping all the way down to under 12, and also a lot of thrashing for no reason. So basically this kind of waveform, but just on repeat for no reason at all, just all the way through for days and days and days. So I just hated that, and I really wanted to find a solution. So yes, the lithium, the Kings Lithium is a decent solution, but for anyone willing to pay that bit extra, this is obviously an even better solution again. And of course, being an H4 battery, this is an absolute drop-in. So you don't have to do a thing. You just undo this clamp, remove the clamp, undo the battery terminals, take the lead acid out, stick this one in, connect the terminals, put the clamp back on, and you're done. It's that simple. And then within a few days, you'll start seeing a line graph like this. So really, really nice and stable. Alright guys, so I hope this has been educational, and keep your eyes peeled for more videos. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this battery yet. I'm really keen to keep it in here and see how it goes through summer, but at the same time I don't really need to test it because there's nothing in there. It's just sodium ion cells, and Sean from Ohmmu has an amazing warranty on these batteries and has done all the testing himself anyway. So yeah, they're basically designed to do exactly what we want them to do. So yeah, fantastic product. Alright guys, thanks for watching. See ya.